Hi, this is Jackie from ESLactivity.org. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite, very simple ESL activities for kids called I'm an Alien. So this is ideal if you are talking or teaching about something that you think students already know a good bit of information about. So for example, like Christmas, you're doing a Christmas themed lesson, then I would pretend that I'm an alien, and then I would say, Christmas, what's Christmas? And then students would start shouting out, there's Santa, and then there's reindeer, and you get presents. And then I would say, who's Santa? What's Santa? What's a reindeer? Why do you get presents? What do you get? Where are the presents? And I would just ask so many questions. So basically, you're pretending that you've never been to Earth and you don't know any information about the basic topic. Why would you do this? It's because it helps students activate this prior knowledge that they have. So anything that you teach students subsequently is more memorable. All right, so that is my very, very simple warm-up activity for kids. If you want some more ideas, be sure to check out my book, 101 ESL Activities for Kids. Hi everybody, this is Jackie from ESLspeaking.org. So today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite ESL warm-up activities. It's called Picture Prompt. So basically it's when you have a picture and you can put it up on your PowerPoint screen or however. Students can even look at something on their phone. And then you can do actually 1,000,001 activities with a picture. It's super simple, it's very low prep as long as you have some way to show that picture. When to use it. I generally use Picture Prompt as an ESL warm-up at the beginning of class. You can also use it as kind of a review activity at the end of class, or it works well even as like a time filler. If you have like a minute left at the end of class and nothing's going on and you're worried about like your students getting up and running around and doing all sorts of bad things, just put up a picture and do Picture Prompt. And it's a very simple way to just fill in a couple of minutes, kind of in an educational fashion. So there's kind of different things I would do with different levels of students, so beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So first of all, beginners. If I put a picture up, I would just very simply, for absolute beginners, I would say, what do you see? And they would say, oh, cat, dog, person, man, woman, bicycle, whatever, something like that. Or you can ask very simple questions like, what color is his t-shirt? And like point at the man. And the students would say red, or like, I don't know, how many people, 3 people, etc. So students can kind of just shout out answers. So that's the very basic level. The next level is the intermediate. So you can talk about what's happening in the picture. So talk about some actions, some verbs. So what are the people doing? Oh, she's eating an ice cream, the children are playing, and you can get students making some sentences. You could also talk about feelings. So maybe if a child is crying, you could talk about how is the child feeling? She's very sad, maybe because she dropped her ice cream or just whatever happened. So you can talk about things like that. So feelings and actions. And then finally, in the advanced version, these students can kind of do anything generally. So you can have your students see kind of an interesting and unusual picture, and they can maybe make a creative story about it. Or they could talk about some explanations about what happened. So maybe something seen like terror, like horror is happening, and you could say like, what happened? What happened in the picture? How did these people get to this situation? Or you could show a picture with some action and then get students to maybe predict about what's going to happen in the future. So if you're talking about the future tenses. All right, so those are all the exciting ways that I would use Picture Prompt. And I honestly use this activity probably at least, I want to say like once a month in all my classes. It's super versatile, the students like it, and it's very, very easy on the prep as well. Hi, this is Jackie from ESLactivity.org. So today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite ESL presentation activities called Show and Tell. And I know you probably have done Show and Tell in like kindergarten or elementary school, something like that. But you can also use it in your ESL classes for any age or level of students. So the way that it works is I get students to bring something from home that's special to them, or it can be like a big thing, or like a living thing like a cat or dog. In that case, students can just take a picture of it or print out a little picture and then show that instead of actually bringing the object. And then students can just do a little presentation about what that object is, how long they've had it, why it's special to them. You can set up whatever criteria you want. And it kind of depends on the age and the level of students, what they're capable of. You can do 2 styles. So one style is that All the students could go in a single day, so you kind of just have like a presentation day and everyone does the show and tell together. Or you could do maybe like 1 or 2 students at the beginning of each class, so you kind of go on a schedule and you just kind of get through the whole class over the semester. And yeah, it's kind of a nice warm-up activity, and it's a nice way to like kind of ease the students into English each class if you choose to do it that way. All right, so that is a very simple activity if you want to do some presentations in your English classes, show and tell. And if you want some more ideas for your English classes, be sure to check out my book, 39 No Prep, Low Prep ESL Speaking Activities for Teenagers and Adults. Today I'm going to talk about a very simple ESL warm-up for higher level students. So it's called 5-minute debate. Think of a controversial statement such as fast food companies shouldn't be allowed to advertise to children, or smoking in public places like parks or beaches should be banned. So just say that statement to students and then maybe just get them to put up their hands. I'm saying whether they agree or disagree with it. Hopefully there'll be about 50-50. If there is, get a student who chooses yes and a student who chooses no to match up with each other. If there isn't an unequal number, you'll have to just assign some sides and just kind of like make a little joke about it and say, I know you don't actually think that, but this is a test of your reasoning, your logic. This will be a good challenge for you to take actually the other side than what you agree with. So those two people can go together and they can have a quick little up to 5-minute debate. So it could be like even 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. And then if people are kind of done and you notice that the groups have kind of stopped talking, you can just say stop. It doesn't have to be exactly 5 minutes. And then just kind of elicit some opinions from the groups about like the people, their arguments in favor and their arguments against. And then if you're having fun, you can do another round or another couple rounds. So that is a very quick ESL warm-up or icebreaker activity. Okay, so let's talk about 2 truths and a lie. It's a fun icebreaker for kind of any situation, but I use it specifically in my ESL or EFL classes. So the way it works is that I give students a couple minutes and they have to write down 3 statements. 2 of them are true and 1 of them is false. So the ones that I would use about myself are, I have a twin sister and my mom is a twin. The second one is, I have been to more than 50 countries. And the third one is, I've been bungee jumping 12 times. Which one do you think is a lie? I hope you guessed right. It is number 3. I've actually never been bungee jumping, but I do have a twin and my mom is a twin, all identical actually, which is kind of amazing. And I have been to a lot of countries as well. So anyway, I get students to do that. And then after that, I put them in small groups if we have a big class, or we do it all together if we have a smaller class. And then I get the other students in the group or the rest of the class to have about 2 or 3 minutes. I call it interrogation time. So they can ask questions to the person in the hot seat about their truths and their lie to try to uncover what it is. So for example, for me, students might ask, oh, what's your sister's name? Where did you go bungee jumping first? Or what's your favorite country? Or have you ever been to Africa? Any of those questions, they kind of quick rapid fire questions and then see what I struggle to answer. So then in the end, the other people in the group or the class, they vote on which one is the lie. So that's about it. One really fun way that I did is I was teaching a camp and I had the same group of students for the entire, I think it was 2 weeks, something like 6 hours a day, something like that. So I got 2 students to start off the class doing this activity, and it was kind of an icebreaker thing just to begin the class and kind of warm up everyone for using English. And then I got a student in the class, I called him the captain. Actually, the students appointed him as the captain. But so the person would go and they would say their 2 truths and a lie, we'd interrogate them. Everybody would vote on it, and then whoever was correct at uncovering the lie, they would get 1 point. And then the captain kept track of who had the most points throughout those couple weeks. And then at the end, I gave those couple people, the winners, I gave them a Starbucks gift card. And they loved it, actually. It was a really good activity, and we had a really fun time. And I said that they should be police men or police women, because they were obviously very good at understanding when people were lying. Today I'm going to talk about a very quick ESL warm-up that requires almost nothing in the way of preparation or materials. It also can be easily adapted to make it as easy or as difficult as you want, depending on the level of students. It's called Name 5 Things. So put students into pairs or groups of even 3 or 4, and then each group needs a piece of paper and a pen. And then you could say, name 5 animals. And then the first team to quickly write down 5 animals puts up their hand and you can check, and that team gets a point. So that is a very simple one. Kind of a little bit more difficult would be name 5 farm animals. And the next level would be name 5 animals that are bigger than a car. So just as hard or as easy as you want to make it. There's also some other variations or some other options that you can do, and you can get creative, but here are just a few more ideas for you. So name 5 foods, or name 5 red foods, name 5 Christmas foods, something like that. Or name 5 drinks, name 5 cold drinks, name 5 drinks that you might get at a bar, something like that. So the sky's the limit. Get creative and use your imagination. And you can even get students to help you come up with ideas for this game. Hi, this is Jackie from ESLspeaking.org. So today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite ESL speaking activities called Just a Minute. So this is the ultimate activity for intermediate or advanced students to work on speaking and speaking fluency. So I put students into groups of 4, and then I write a bunch of kind of different topics on the board. Just things that students could talk for 1 minute about without stopping. So for example, like favorite restaurant, high school memory, favorite sport, a TV show that they like, a game that they play, their family, just those kind of common topics that anybody could actually talk about. So in the groups of 4, I get students to give themselves a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then I say, okay, number 1's you're going first. Then I scrunch up a ball of paper and I give it to one of the students kind of in the front rows, and they throw the ball at the whiteboard with all the little topics on it. And whatever the ball hits, that's the first topic. So each of those people is kind of put on the spot, the number 1s in each group, and they have to talk for 60 seconds without stopping about that topic. I put a timer up on the PowerPoint screen and it counts down, and I just say, this is your challenge. You must talk for 1 minute without stopping. It can be a little bit challenging for some students, but most students are kind of able to do it as long as the topic is familiar enough. So don't choose any obscure things or this will be much too difficult. So the other 3 members in the group, number 2, 3, and 4, they have to listen to that person talking, and then they have to think of 1 or 2 interesting follow-up questions for that person once the minute is done and they stop talking. So this is kind of optional, but it's the best way to encourage active listening. So if you don't do this, the other members in the group will be thinking about those topics on the board, what they're going to say, planning out their own speeches, etc. And it becomes not a speaking and a listening activity, it just becomes a solely speaking activity. So once that first person is done with the 1 minute speech and then the follow-up questions, number 2 goes. So they throw the scrunched up paper at the board, then the second topic, that person talks for 1 minute, follow-up questions, and then number 3 and number 4 go. So I also love this activity because it requires no preparation, no materials. It's quite useful. Students generally like it. And yeah, it's a great way to fill up like 20 or 30 or even 40 minutes in your class in some cases, if you have some discussion about the topics or kind of elicit some answers about what people said about each thing, and the teacher can ask some follow-up questions to the people as well. Hey everybody, this is Jackie from ESLspeaking.org. So today I'm going to talk about some first lesson ideas for new teachers. So if you're going to teach ESL or EFL somewhere, and it's one of your very first days, you're walking into class, you're feeling super nervous and worried, here are some things you can do in that very first lesson to kind of get started off on the right foot. The first idea that I have is rules and or the syllabus. So talking about some classroom rules is never a bad idea. So things like food or drinks, using cell phones in class, what time students should be there, should they bring a textbook, should they bring a pencil, having a name tag, all of that kind of stuff. So I think if you talk about that in the first class, it kind of sets the expectation that you're a serious teacher, you mean business, and there are some rules that students will have to follow in order for your class to go more smoothly. If you teach at a university, you'll often or not often, but almost always, you'll be expected to talk about your syllabus. So talking about assignments and homework and the exams, so kind of the basic outline of that kind of stuff. So I know it's a little bit boring, but it is necessary information. So be sure to do that if you are teaching in an environment where you need to do that. All right, so the second thing you can do if you're a new teacher and it's your first class, this is great for kids, is to play the name game. So I usually will get students to tell me their name and then something that they like. And then we go around in a circle. So I start first and I'll say, my name is Jackie and I like cats. The next person would say, her name is Jackie and she likes cats. And my name is Ted and I like ice cream. Then the next person goes, her name is Jackie and she likes cats and his name is Ted, he likes ice cream. And my name is blah, blah, blah. And then we go around in a circle. And usually I will be the last one to go, and it's a serious test of my memory, and but it is super helpful for remembering students' names and then kind of remembering like one fun fact about them. And if the students in the class don't know each other, it's also a great way for them to get to know each other's names and kind of just to learn one quick thing about them. That one is obviously better for younger learners and also better for smaller classes. I would never do this in a class of like 30 or 40 students. It would be very tedious. However, if you teach a larger class, you can even put students into groups of like 10 and have them do this together. It would work as long as the students are well behaved enough and kind of at a maturity level where they can handle doing something like that in a smaller group. Okay, so the next one is ball toss. So this one is better for younger learners. So on the ball in permanent marker, I'll write questions, kind of get to know you questions. Like, how old are you? What's your favorite food? How many brothers or sisters do you have? And students take turns tossing the ball to each other, and then when they catch it, whatever question is under their right thumb is the one that they have to answer. So they can quickly look at it, read out the question, and then say their answer, and then toss the ball to somebody else who like looks where their right thumb is, reads out the question, and then answers the question. So this is kind of a fun way. The novelty factor is high. Students love like throwing a beach ball around the classroom. It's kind of fun, nobody gets hurt because the ball is very soft, and yeah, it's just kind of some entertainment and kind of some fun for the first day, and it's also quite helpful for students to get to know each other a little bit. All right, the next one, the expert. So this is more of an activity for higher level students. So I get students to write down 3 things that they are an expert in that they think other students would be interested in. So for me, I always write down something like Survivor, my favorite TV show, and maybe I'll write like cooking Korean food, and then I'll write something like playing tennis. So those are kind of 3 of my hobbies that I like to do, kind of in a different variety. They're not all like TV shows or they're not all sports or something like that. And then, so students will do the same about things they know a lot about. And then I put students into pairs, and they have about 5 minutes, and they can have a conversation with each other about those topics. So I'll just get them to bring the piece of paper around with them, and if the conversation kind of has a lull in it, they can just quickly look at their partner's paper and then say, oh, you know a lot about Survivor, and then ask a question about Survivor. So after the 5 minutes is up, I get them to switch partners, and they do the same thing for another 5 minutes, and then I'll often get them to switch partners again, kind of depending on how much time I have. So this activity is great because students get to know usually like 2 or 3 other people in the class quite deeply. It's amazing if no students know each other in your class, because then at the end they kind of feel like they've made 2 or 3 new friends that they can like come to the next class and see, and then to say hello, and they know their names and they know a little bit about that person. So number 5, you can play this game called Find Someone Who Bingo. So on a bingo sheet, you can write different things that some students in the class would answer yes to, but not all the students. For example, like has a brother, has a cat, is from or has grown up in whatever city that you're living in, loves pizza, doesn't like vegetables, etc. So fill up the board with kind of appropriate things for your class that you kind of guess. Some would say yes, but some would say no. Then give each student a grid, and they have to circulate around the class asking people questions. For example, do you like vegetables? Do you have a cat? Do you love pizza? If the student says yes, they have to cross off that square, write the student's name, and then they have to ask one follow-up question. So for example, if someone said, yes, I love pizza, they could say, what's your favorite topping? Oh, I love mushrooms. And then they could write mushrooms in the square next to that person's name. All right, so those are the best things you can do in class on the very first day if you're a new teacher and need a few ideas. Hey, this is Jackie from ESLspeaking.org. So today I'm going to talk about a very quick ESL warm-up activity called the A to Z alphabet game. So I'll generally use this as a warm-up activity if I think that students have already studied the topic before. So for example, jobs or animals. Unless students are like absolute beginners, they probably already know a lot of animals or a lot of like closed vocabulary or a lot of jobs, those kind of basic things that are in basically all the ESL textbooks. So this activity is a nice way to help students activate their prior knowledge before adding on new things. It kind of just helps them make connections in their brain and make the new words more memorable. So I put students into groups of 2 or 3, and then on a piece of paper I have them write the alphabet, so like A, B, C, D down to Z. And then I give students a topic, for example, animals, and then I give them a time limit, so 1 or 2 minutes is usually good. Maybe 1 minute's actually a little bit short, probably like 2 minutes to 3 minutes. And then students have to write down as many animals as possible. So for each letter, they only need to think of one that starts with that letter. They can't have, like, for example, ant and armadillo. They can only choose one, an ant and armadillo. And then if they can't think of a B one, they can skip to C, cat, they can go to fish, tiger. I don't require them to do it like in strictly alphabetical order. They can just kind of jump around on the list wherever they want. And then at the end of 2 minutes, I get students to count up how many words they have. And the winner is this group that has the most words. So if you want to kind of increase the difficulty of this and push students, the more advanced students, to come up with more interesting words, and you have a small class where it's easy enough to check, I get students to say their words group by group. If any of the words are the same, they don't count. So students have to think of unique words for each letter. So instead of just writing like ant, they'll maybe think of armadillo. Or instead of just like bat, maybe they can think of like bobcat or like something more interesting that they already know. Hey everybody, this is Jackie from ESLspeaking.org. So today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite ESL warm-up activities. It's called word association. It's basically a mind map of words or brainstorming words, but kind of in an organized fashion. So I would use this activity if I'm teaching students something I think they already know a lot about. For example, sports, weather, hobbies. All those things are very common in ESL textbooks. So unless I'm teaching like absolute basic beginners, students probably already know a lot of sports or know a lot of weather vocabulary words. So I like to use this activity to help them kind of elicit their prior knowledge so that any new things they learn will be easier for them to remember. So for example, if we're doing weather, I would write weather on the board and then draw a circle around it. And then I would get students, I would say, shout out words that you know about weather. And they would say like snowy, snow, hail. And then that would kind of be maybe like winter things. So I'd have a little category of winter weather. And then maybe they would say hot, humid, sunny, and that would be kind of summer weather. So I'd have another little hub of sunny. Just keep going until the students have kind of come up with all the words they know. And then jump into your lesson. It's a nice way to introduce any sort of ESL lesson on most topics. Yeah, and then students can just think, oh, I already know a ton of words about weather. So they feel like less stressed out and overwhelmed for any new words that they might be adding to that in your lesson. Hey everybody, this is Jackie from ESLspeaking.org. So today I'm going to share a quick activity called 5 Senses. It's great for just teaching English learners. You can use it as a quick warm-up or kind of a time filler. There's a ton of different ways to use this activity. You just have to bring an object into the class, and I'll use the example of a can of Coke. And then students have to think about their 5 senses and then use words to describe that object. So I usually will put students into like pairs or groups of 3 or 4. And they can do this either by speaking or by writing. It's up to you. It doesn't matter for this activity. So for example, I'm kind of doing this on the fly, so like be kind. So anyway, the can of Coke, sight or seeing. If you look at the can, you could use colors to describe it, like red, white. The writing on it, you could describe that. You could say it's like a cylinder or like a tube. It's like it looks metallic on the top. Any of those words, so just kind of descriptive words to describe it. The smell, you could say it smells kind of like sweet or licoricey, or I don't know, I feel like it tastes or smells like a little bit like metallic or something because of the can, so when you first put it to your mouth, so any of those words. It tastes, I don't know, I don't like Coke that much, so I think it tastes like bitter and like kind of harsh. Some people think it tastes sweet, some people think it tastes delicious. I don't know, there's a million words you could use to describe how Coke tastes, or like fizzy. Fizzy, I guess, is a really another good word. And then touch. Touch is interesting. You could say like it's liquidy, or it's like fizzy or bubbly, or yeah, so there's lots of words for that. Hearing, the last sentence. So you could say like when you open the can, like the pop, or like a pop or snap, or like something like that. Then when all the fizz comes out, it's kind of just like a rush of air, or like bubbly sound or something like that. So you can do this with any object, and of course not all the things might apply. So if you don't do a food or drink, obviously taste is kind of a weird one, because like who's gonna lick an eraser or like taste an eraser or a pencil or whatever. So you could just say like turn it into like the 4 senses activity instead of the 5 senses or whatever, you know. Okay, so that's just a simple activity as a time filler or warm up. Try it out with your students, and I think you'll like it. I always have a really good time, and my students always come up with very creative words, and they're actually way better at it than I am. I should have actually filmed them doing this for this video than me, because my words are not as amazing as what they come up with usually. All right, so if you like this video, please hit like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and yeah, tell me if you tried it and what you think about this activity. Also, be sure to check out my book, 101 ESL Activities for Adults. You can find it on Amazon. All right, until next time, thanks everybody. Bye.